tasty techniques. I'm Jonathan, and you know what? I've missed you. It seems like it's been a long time, so I'm going to treat you to one of my favorite things, risotto. Now, what I love about risotto is it's got this bad reputation of being really difficult or really tedious. I'm going to show you that it's all wrong. We're going to make it. It's going to be very simple. It might take a little bit of time, but it's time well spent, and it's going to be great. Let's get to it. The first thing that we're going to need for the risotto is Italian arborio rice. It's perfect for risotto. It says it right on the bag. Some finely diced onion. Wait, how'd that get here? 2 cloves of garlic, minced very fine. Some Parmesan cheese, grated up real nice. Plenty of kosher salt and black pepper. Some olive oil. And some chicken stock. Homemade would be best, of course. And you know, I did show you how to make it. But if you have to use store-bought, try to get the low sodium stuff. It'll make your risotto tastes a lot better in the long run, but we're actually ready to cook now. Let's go. Now at the stove, I've got my chicken stock in a small saucepan. I'm going to turn that on to medium-high heat. We want that to come up to heat so that when we start cooking the risotto, well, you'll see, but we need it to be hot. And then I've got my large saute pan here. I'm going to put that on medium heat, and then I'm going to add my oil. I've added probably about a tablespoon of oil to the bottom of the pan, maybe a little bit less, and I'm going to let that come to heat a little bit, and then we're going to add the onions in about a minute. Okay, so my oil is up to temperature. I'm not looking for a specific temperature, just when you move the pan around, you want the oil to kind of just slip and slide around. You don't want it to cling to the pan too much. So now I'm going to add the onions. We're looking to sweat them. We don't want to saute, we don't want a lot of browning, we just want to kind of melt them down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and add them, and you want to keep the heat down to about a medium. You don't want to go much higher than that. Okay, so my onions have been in the hot oil bath for about 2 minutes. Started occasionally, and the sizzling's starting to kind of die down a little bit, which is really good. I'm going to add the garlic here next. Quick note about the oil that I used. I used olive oil. You can use butter if you want. If you want it to taste buttery, that's fine. That's your choice. I don't want to use butter today. I'm using oil. Just a quick side note. Now I'm going to add the garlic. Bam! Still don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I'm going to let this cook for about another 2 minutes. And then we're going to add the rice. Okay, so I just added the rice and stirred it in. Now it may seem weird, if you've never done this before, to add the dry rice to the cooking oil, but trust me, you're going to coat all the rice grains with the oil, kind of cook them up a little bit, they'll get a little roasty toasty, it's going to taste really good. Also, my chicken stock is coming to a boil. I don't want it to boil, I just want it hot. So I'm going to turn it down to maintain that temperature. This also works well if you put your chicken stock in an electric kettle. It'll keep your stock up at the right temperature without it boiling, you don't have to touch it. I would show you mine, but I traded it for some bacon, but I'm going to go ahead and bring you in and show you the next step. With my rice cooking nicely and my stock at the right temperature, I'm going to go ahead and start adding some to the rice. I've got 1 ladle here I'm going to go ahead and dump in. Too much sizzling. I'm going to give this a stir. And I've got the heat just below a medium. I'm just going to let this stir. And then we're going to watch this because the rice is going to absorb some is going to evaporate. But once you don't see a lot of free liquid in the pan anymore, we're going to add another ladle of chicken stock. The key here is to go low and slow because we still need to cook the rice. It's still very crunchy. So I'll show you the next installment when that happens. Literally 1 minute later, all the liquid, most of the liquid is absorbed into the rice. So I'm going to go ahead and add another ladleful. Now I will go ahead and mention that if you use an open pot like I am, you're probably going to lose some stock to evaporation, which isn't a bad thing. You can either add more stock or bolster it with some water. If you use the water, obviously it's not going to taste as good, but it's going to be fine. You can also throw in a little bit of white wine if you had it laying around too. So I'm going to keep doing this, rinse and repeat basically, until your rice is edible, nice and chewy. Okay, so it's been about 25 minutes. The key here is low and slow. You don't want the rice to cook too quickly because it's got a lot of starch that's going to help thicken the sauce that it kind of creates. But if you noticed, I didn't add any seasoning whatsoever, and I still haven't even added the cheese yet. Oh, the cheese. But I tasted the rice, it's about done, it's bland as anything, so I'm going to start adding some salt, some pepper, and I'm going to toss in some cheese. Le salt. Le pepper. And the chaise. Glorious, glorious chaise. Little mix action. As you can tell, the rice has plumped up considerably, soaking up all that delicious chicken stock. So, this is looking very, very good. I'm going to let that salt dissolve and do its thing. I'm going to taste it in a minute. The rice is cooked, so we're really just going to be adjusting seasoning, and we're about done. And that's it. Risotto. I hope I showed you it's a lot easier than a lot of people make it out to be. It only took me about 25 minutes with all the stirring and everything. It's not this day-long process where you have to stand over a cauldron and stir with a giant wooden spoon. Forget it. It's very simple and very versatile. You don't even have to use rice. Almost any grain will work. I've used farro, I've used barley, couscous even. I'll show you those at another time. Another thing about risotto is that it's a fantastic side dish underneath a nice filet mignon or just any steak really, any pork dish, chicken. It's fantastic. You can add any sort of things you want into it. Pancetta, onions, mushrooms. The sky's the limit. So thanks for stopping by. Again, I'm Jonathan. This has been Tasty Techniques. Check out my old videos if you haven't seen them already, or just brush up on some old techniques, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.